Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And for some of you, welcome to Albany for the first time. I know we have guests from Washington, D.C. and all across the country, so welcome to the state capitol. It's a pleasure to have you here. We're very excited. This is the first ever Veteran Summit that the state has held, and I hope it's going to be the first of many, and it's truly my pleasure to be part of it. I want to begin by thanking the organizers for today. This was a novel concept. It was a long time in coming. It took a lot of work to organize and set up, and I'd like to recognize and thank Colonel Hesse for his good work, Rob Diamond for his good work. Let's give them a round of applause. I'd also like to thank Secretary Sowers coming up from Washington, D.C. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you for being here. And all the guests from around the country and the state officials who are here, thank you for your time and your participation. Today, I believe, is the start of something. It is not the end of something. It's the beginning of a relationship. It's the beginning of a group that sets an agenda and a discussion that will continue. And it is one that is very important to us because it's a relationship that we cherish. I think it's important that we as a government and as a people respect the price that we pay for freedom because the cost is often all too dear. New York has a long history in the battle for freedom. It started with the Battle of Saratoga, not far from the point that we're at today, which was the turning point in the Revolutionary War. World War I, 500,000 New Yorkers participated, largest contingent from any state. The state of New York in World War I. World War II, 800,000. Today, the 10th Mountain Division is in Afghanistan. 450 National Guard are in Kuwait. We have just under 1 million veterans in the state of New York. In New York, our goal is not just to remember and honor veterans one day a year, but truly every day. To honor them not only in our words, but more importantly in our actions. And that's what this summit is all about. The goals of the summit are threefold. First, a new appreciation and approach for military families. The focus has been on the individuals that deploy, as it should be. But in actuality, it is a family that is in service. It is a spouse or a significant other that does double duty at home. It's a daughter without a parent. It's a son without a parent at Little League games. It's a sacrifice by the family, and it is a burden borne by the family. And we should address and respect that burden. Second, service takes a toll. Lost time, lost opportunity, but often a mental burden to carry, PTSD, often a physical legacy, and a difficult transition afterwards. Piecemeal, fragmented, patchwork programs are frustrating to deal with, ineffective, and costly. This state should develop a comprehensive approach, education programs, employment programs, housing program, counseling for the individual and the family, all integrated into one comprehensive, holistic approach. And third, for those who paid the highest price and gave their lives, like the tens of thousands of brave New Yorkers who gave their lives over the years, they will be forever in our prayers, and they have our support for their survivors. For those who will bear the scars that will remind them every day of their service. They must not be forgotten, just as they cannot forget. For those 106,000 disabled veterans in New York, we must take extraordinary action, and the state will. The federal government has set a goal of 3% of the federal contracts to go to businesses run by disabled veterans. The federal government has also established a set-aside of agency contracts to make that goal a reality. And goals are nice, but reality is better, and meeting the goal is the optimum. While about a dozen states have set goals for disabled veterans, no state has established a set-aside program as the federal government has, and I applaud the federal government's goal and set aside. The optimum approach is an ambitious goal and an aggressive set-aside program to meet that goal. In New York, ambitious and aggressive are words that define our pursuit of fairness and justice. I'm proud to announce today that New York State will establish a goal of 6% of its state contracts to go to disabled veterans, a goal as high as any goal in the country, and establish the first state set-aside program to meet that goal, which will be binding on every agency and every authority in the state of New York. I hope this sets a bar and sets a standard for other states to follow. To the extent New York creates a race to the top, then so be it, and brings attention to this issue. And I think it's fitting that this state that has paid such a high price over the years makes the greatest commitment. And I'm proud to be the governor at a time when the state actually does it. I also want to applaud my colleagues in the legislature. I would like to be able to say that it was difficult to get this done, and I would like to be able to say that I had to work extraordinarily hard to convince my colleagues. But that's not true. As a matter of fact, the opposite is true. Because in this world where everything is so complicated, sometimes it's still simple. And the concept of right and wrong is still simple. And sometimes there's a right thing to do and there's a wrong thing to do, and it's clear. This policy is a major policy. It's a major program. It's big numbers, it's big impact. It's probably one of the simplest and shortest conversations I had with the legislative leadership in the 3 years that I've been governor. Because as bold as it is as simple as it is. We should do the right thing by the disabled veterans who serve this country, and this state will. I applaud the Senate and I applaud the Assembly for agreeing on a bill that will be introduced today, that will be voted on in just a few days, but we're sure will pass, and I want to applaud them for their leadership once again in setting a standard of justice. I want to applaud Assemblyman Felix Ortiz and Assemblyman Michael Benedetto, who have done great work on this. I want to applaud Senator Greg Ball and Senator Joseph Adabo, who have been great leaders on this, and the legislative leaders themselves. Senator Dean Skelos, who's the majority leader of the Senate, and Speaker Sheldon Silver, who's the leader of the Assembly, for their leadership and their action in making this great step a reality today. Let's give them a round of applause. I'll go to you. Very nicely said, Mr. Speaker. We'll now sign a bill that is going to be introduced today in the New York State Legislature in both houses, which will represent the passage of the act that I just described for the service-disabled veterans. Well done. Congratulations, gentlemen. You want to stand up and take a picture? Come on, Michael. Come on, Colonel. Congratulations to all on a great piece of work. Thank you.